Okay, we're just going to have a slight delay before we start. One of our board members is going to call in, and we've got to start from Brenda's desk. Okay, it is 7:02. I will call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance first. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for showing up on our extra meeting. We're going to start out with a very short non-public session. So, Alan, if you can.
It's okay.
Oh,
Okay, I'd like to go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Oh, roll call. Stephen, you want to start out?
Greg, Alan,
Janine? Krista, okay. Okay, the next thing we have on our agenda is the points of pride.
So, for the month of February, Pierce School initiated a kindness challenge called Cool Beans. You're my age, that actually has some different meanings for you. So, Cool Beans was what we called everything that was even remotely interesting. When a student is caught being a cool bean and they earn a bean toward the whole school goal, and they'll have a whole school earned activity at the end of February. At Peterborough Elementary School on Friday of last week, the PES third graders presented the 50 Nifty song, as in the 50 states, to students, staff, and families at an all-school meeting. At the high school, Region 14 ATC was awarded a grant from the New Hampshire Department of Education to purchase a meteorology kit for students to earn industry-recognized certification in measurement. Natalie Preble earned the January CTE Student of the Month award for the demonstration of career readiness skills in her engineering class. And on January 26th, WMUR's New Hampshire Chronicle featured Conval graduate Callie Walton. She was the class of 2017 who is pursuing an acting career. Walton has a leading role. It'll be 22 episodes as the character Chloe Riley on the CW network series In the Dark. The show is about a blind young woman trying to solve her friend's murder. We also had the Peterborough chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution announced senior Lydia Cleveland as the winner of the 2023 DAR Good Citizen Award. The DAR Good Citizen Program and associated scholarship contest are intended to reward the qualities of good citizenship. Students selected for this award must have the following qualities: dependability, which includes truthfulness, loyalty, and punctuality; service, which includes cooperation, courtesy, and consideration of others; leadership, which includes personality, self-control, and ability to assume responsibility; and patriotism, which includes unselfish interest in family, school, community, and nation. And those are the points of pride. We are preparing a press release about our very long list of Scholastic Art Awards, so I'll have more for you on that coming soon. That's other points of pride.
Wonderful, thank you. That brings us to our first period of public comment. Are there any members of the public that wish to address the board? We're looking at you, Mr. Edwards. No, okay. And Mr. Grassinghurst. Okay, so we will move on to the consent agenda. The school board, are there any changes to the school board minutes that anyone needs to advance? And do we have any personnel?
Yes, there's personnel in your packet.
Okay, I didn't get it. We hired a, okay, oh, resignation. Okay, no changes, then we will consider the consent agenda. Oh, Kevin?
I would actually have to look that up. But we have a couple of science and obviously now a math position. I don't know if Carrie, do you know that off the top of your head, or would you need to look at your spreadsheet? There you go.
Okay, and next we have the superintendent's report and presentation of business.
Okay, so school board requests, we do have quite a list of school board requests kind of starting to pile up that we'll need to get on the agenda. 2 are for presentations, and 2 are for information. And we are going to be working on those. Obviously, right now, all our concentration is on getting through deliberative session. So, just a reminder to please put on your mics. I'm getting text messages. So that's school board requests. I would ask you to turn to page 7 and 8 of your agenda to take a look at your calendar. And this is the last day. The last day of the month. So moving into Thursday, we have a strategic organization plan committee. And then we have deliberative session. Is there anything else the week of the 6th? Okay. The week of the 13th. And the week of the 20th. All right. Yeah, Thursday. Are we having a meeting on?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yep.
I've wrong committee.
All right. Okay. Right, it's actually at 5:45. Okay. So a couple of things that we just need to kind of close the loop on. First is a reminder, if your position is up for reelection, please make sure you file with Brenda. So please see Brenda, she has paperwork for you. Also, we were reviewing the Secretary of State advisory that recently came out regarding voting day. And we want to draw your attention to RSA 671:26, where the school districts have voted to have the town conduct the school district election. The constitution and statutory requirement that the governing body, the governing board be present at the election and witness the count and public announcement is generally understood to require the school board members of their designees to be present for the counting of ballots and public announcement of the results of the school district election. At a standalone school district election, the members of the school board or their designees and the school district clerk should be present throughout the election. The school board members' role will be to ensure the polling place is properly equipped and to otherwise assist the moderator in the conduct of the election. So, this I got from the Secretary of State, and what it means is that we have the towns conduct the election for us, and that basically says that there's a statutory requirement that a member of the governing body be present at the election and witness the count. That means that there needs to be a member of the board or a designee at each of the town elections through the count based on what the Secretary of State sent us. The governing body can designate somebody. So, but remember, there's only one of me. Obviously, we will have Lori at Peterborough. That leaves 8 other towns. You've got Francistown covered because you're the moderator. Through the count. That's what it says. I can pass it around.
Well, when you say through the count,
says,
that means at the end when they
And
count
witness
the
the
votes.
count. And witness the count.
So that's at the end.
You can do that for Sharon?
Right.
Okay. So I'm gonna write this down.
Dick,
Jim equals Sharon. You can. I don't know. I can certainly find that out.
yeah.
She's making a copy. been accustomed to doing.
Stephen?
Could you email us a copy of the letter, so when I ask Arthur Merrill to be our
Yeah.
yeah,
I actually put it off. The Secretary of State letter, yes. We can,
Okay,
before you
thanks.
leave today, we have clean copies we can give everyone on their way out the door. Okay, everyone's gonna get a copy. They are designated the governing bodies.
I can do it for you. Dick, did you have something?
Yeah, just go back to why would we not ask the town moderators to be our designee?
You can
So,
absolutely do that.
so we would just need to indicate which school board member is going to ask each town's moderator if they'll be our
Okay,
designee.
you could just let us know so we can record it. The only one that we can't do that for is Peterborough. Lori does need to actually be there because it says that. No, she's the district clerk. Yeah. So you don't even have to make her to be the.
Jim?
So there has to be a designee and the district.
Well, are you for, she's for Peterborough.
Right, but it says the school board or their designees and the school district clerk should be present. Right, so. Right, yes. Yep. Oh, she's gonna be both? Or the designee maybe,
So, but we would have to, a Peterborough rep would have to designate her for Peterborough. Yes, Dick?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Lori to be the representative of the Peterborough community as our designee at the polls for the election of school board members.
second,
All in favor, Peterborough reps?
All right,
Steve?
with Krista's permission, I'd like to,
Krista already said she could be there.
oh, she's gonna, or is she gonna have Arthur Merrill, the moderator?
Krista, you can have Arthur Merrill.
No, I'll just go, it's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Kimberly?
So I don't need to know right now. I just need you to let Brenda know so we have a list so that it's within, if anyone asks, we can say here, these were the people that were designated.
Jim? I don't think they will let you.
We,
Oh,
We didn't
okay,
hear
well,
you.
I guess it would depend on if the school board member participates in the count. I don't think that'd be conflict of interest, but okay. Okay. Yeah, I know you don't, I know. Doug?
Is there a date we need to let you know by? Or let Brenda know by?
Just within the next couple of weeks. How about if
Oh,
we
couple,
say
no. Okay.
by deliberative session? No, not by deliberative session, by the 1st of March.
No, I just have to wait till the next, I guess I can go in, but the next select board meeting I can. do that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Okay. are you finished, Kimberly? Facilities update. We have a facilities update?
Facilities updates. So I'm gonna pass the baton off to, Mr. Grassi.
So we recently finished the second round of lead testing. We participate in this federally mandated program. First round we did was in 2019. The second round was in 2022. The 2022 testing was a little more in depth as far as notification to parents. It resulted in a letter going out to all the parents. The first round was basically a note on the bulletin board stating such. Inside of that testing, faucets, bubblers, any place that someone could draw water from was tested. If it tested higher than, the first round was 15 parts per million, with a caveat in there, if stuff tested higher than 10 parts per million, they would also like you to tag the sink to not drink. This second round, they lowered the number. It's now 5 parts per billion. So that added, I think, 13 more faucets to the list that we had tagged with don't drink the water, hand wash only. Inside of that now, we've got 148 faucets that test higher than that, so we are looking into mitigating that through replacements of some of the faucets. Keep in mind, our 3 largest schools are about 65% of the faucets that tested higher. We're doing everything within the letter of the law, and compliance is being met. Long story short.
Thank you, Tim. I did a little bit of further research around this, and the original testing, I think, was at 15 BBP, I think it is, and then they like lowered it to 5, which resulted in, I think, in the second round. But the interesting thing to me is that 99%, and Greg, you probably know this, 99% of the cases of lead in the bloodstream are from lead dust, not from the water. And they are mainly concerned with children under 6 years of age. And that is when they test them, like twice. I think one, I don't know, what are the ages they test them at, Greg?
12 and 24 months.
12 and 24 months. So this is largely outside of the school system, the K-12 school system. We do have pre-K classrooms that would be of concern, but I think that there was a certain amount of alarm at the idea that we had that many faucets that weren't immediately complying, but I think that background information really helps to understand. Greg?
May I address Mr. Grassi? Were any of these water fountains?
This second round, there were, which sounds terrible, but let me explain. And they were our community schools, which all have 3 bubblers apiece in them. When we came back from COVID, the principals requested that they all be shut off. It's your standard bubbler, and your kids are gonna go. So they've been off up until this testing took place, where we had to turn them back on because the device was tested before. So now you've got this fermentation of water inside of a device that, could potentially have 8% lead in the construction of it, and consequently they tested higher. They're all off again, and part of the transfers you'll see in the back of the packet here is to replace those bubblers with the bottle fill stations, which is a new style that we've got. It's not you just put your bottle up to it and away it goes, or put your cup into it and you get water. So
Thank you.
the reason why we didn't have a higher lead testing in other bubblers is we started replacing the bubblers, boy, I bet you 7-8 years ago. So if we hadn't started that process just through attrition, we probably would have had a lot higher bubbler station where you would typically draw water from. We'd probably have more units testing higher, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing classroom sinks, we're seeing lavatories, chemical sinks, we tested everything. No, if you look back through it in 1985, they banned lead solder. In 2011, they banned the concentrations of lead in the creation, the manufacturing of faucets. Didn't actually start to get enforced until 2014. So that 8% lead part in the faucet is what we're, and not me, the chemical people, the water people that test, that you're getting that leach from that point source. Now, where it's a stagnant test, where the water has to sit stagnant in the line for 6 to 8 hours before you do the test, it's right there. We're not seeing lead and have no evidence of lead in the copper lines in any of the buildings. They want it to sit, I believe the figure is for 8 hours before it's tested, but we didn't go around and flush 552 devices before they came. So they got what they got. Yep. And consequently, the faucets that we see that aren't used test higher for lead.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Welcome.
Okay, that brings us to reports. Student representative, Catherine Craig.
Okie dokie. So Conval news. Course selection kicks off this week. Well, intro selection meetings for every class at the high school. So that'll be like kind of an advisory to help students decide what classes they want to take in their future years at the high school. We had a pep rally last Wednesday to boost school spirit. The Cougar Cares, which is our I don't know, it stands for community, adaptability, respect, engagement, and safety. And this month we are focusing on community, so we decided to have a pep rally to bring everyone together, and everyone really liked it. We had some games that we played, and it was a really fun time. So yes, that's exciting. Rehearsals for Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream are going well. The performances are in a few weeks. I'm pretty sure it's around the 17th. I'll have specific details next meeting. Spring musical auditions are starting a week from today. Conval Jazz Ensemble went to Keene Jazz Fest Friday, where they had a collaborative performance experience with other regional high schools. Candygrams for Valentine's Day are on sale at the high school for $2 a bag, and you can send a fun little note and some candies to a friend, someone you admire, someone who you care about. It's a fun time, and those are on sale to support student council. Yes, exactly. Maybe. In sports news, boys basketball had an overtime win versus, I think double overtime win versus Milford on Friday. That was very intense, nail biter. Lots of school spirit. It was an away game. Lots of Conval students went on the bus all the way to Milford to cheer on their team. And I mean, it worked because we won. Unified won against Goffstown Friday, and they had a pizza party after in the library. And also the Unified senior game is tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the Conval gym. Be there or be square. Let's see. That's all for news, but I just want to say that as the Conval representative for students, I think it is important to give my feedback. If you guys have questions about Conval, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of how students perceive the school and perceive things that are going on. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Have there been any notable university acceptances recently that we should know about?
Oh, well, I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I was just accepted last week into the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the Honors College.
Go Tar Heels.
Thank you.
I would just like to add that for all of our students, being accepted to college is notable. And while you may mean where they're accepted, it's really important to understand that some of our students start high school not thinking they can go to college and end up being accepted.
That is very true.
I particularly wanted to track.
Well, thank you. But again, ask me questions. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you, Catherine. Communication Committee, Alan.
Well, the first thing I have to say is that we have to reorder the reports because Catherine is a very hard person to follow. Okay? But I will try to be as good as she is on this stuff. On the community forum, I did write this whole thing down because there's a lot of stuff that I want to go over. Is that it's going to be March 6th at 6 p.m. We do have 4 presentations. The first one being a layman's view of the budget, which is this presentation will provide a high-level view of watching the budget develop, the choices we were given, the reasons why we made some choices rather than just talking about numbers and percentages. And Liz will be doing that. The budget process, this presentation will describe the many faceted processes of how the budget is developed. And our superintendent will be doing that. The proposed budget and warrant articles, this presentation will describe the significant budget drivers and highlight the goals and initiatives of the proposed budget. And our school board member, Catherine, will be doing that. And last but not least, the budget process and 2022 final tax bills. This presentation will show how your property taxes are impacted by the school budget using the final fiscal year 2022 tax bills as an example, and Jim will be doing that. There will be only 2 question and answer periods. They'll be after the second and fourth presentation, and this makes for a lot more consistency in the presentations themselves instead of having 4 separate Q&As. We will have 2 moderators. Doug will be for the in-house audience and Liz will be for the online audience. Questions will alternate between in-house and online. This will give equal opportunity to both audiences to ask questions. This is different than before where we had in-house and then online. And then the online people, their questions were already asked but answered by the in-house. So we've changed that. Liz is doing or volunteered double duty. Is that she'll be doing the presentation and coordinating the online questions as moderator. This way the Q&As are structured. The way the Q&As are structured should allow for this. So thank you, Liz, for volunteering. As we know, volunteering is in the service and how the volunteering works. Thank you. Agenda. I did put out an agenda, allocated times for each particular item in the agenda. These are approximate times. We don't have to hold to each individual time, but just want to hold to the end because that's when the meet and greet will be. So the agenda is out also. And I'll talk about how you get to them. There are 5 communications bundled together, some of them. First of all is the initial communication, which I like to call the teaser, but it just is a small communication to let people know that the community forum is coming up, and that'll be out on the 23rd of February. The main communication, which is a lot more in depth, actually will tell everything about why you want to attend the forum, how to attend it, the links that when you're online, etc. So that is that's a larger communication. That'll be out on the 27th of February. we do a reminder right before the forum, which is a very small one, and that'll be due on March 3rd, which I think is a Friday, right before the forum, which will be on the 6th. And that's just really to tell people, make sure you show up. Last thing would be the agenda. That comes out with the main communication, and it's a standalone, and that's out on the 27th. Now, all of these communications will be reviewed. Sequence is that the communications committee, administration, and the presenters, they have all the communications, and they'll review them first. Then we will give it to the full school board approximately a week from now to in turn review and give us their thoughts on the communication. Third, we will send it over to Guilfoyle. Guilfoyle will have an opportunity to review, suggest changes, and Guilfoyle's also responsibility is to post these things, okay, to the particular sites that we need them posted to. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kimberly, they also deal with the emailing of these?
No.
You'll do that? Okay. So Kimberly will do that. We also are allowing for a press release, which is a Monadnock Ledger transcript and the King Sentinel, to be posted on the 27th of February. Guilfoyle does our press releases. They can look at the written communications. I believe glean enough information from them to construct a press release. And if they can't, needless to say, Kimberly will give them all the information. Now, a change on distribution is that we would like to include the selectmen's or the select board's advisory committee in our communication. And I did talk on this at the select board advisory committee meeting, is that they are the front line to the towns, and we do a very good job in communicating to the Conval, per se, families, etc. But to get them out to the communities has always been a difficult job. So I thought it'd be a good idea that we would send them the communications, and they would in turn get to their town administrators, people like that, to either post on their websites and or in turn send emails out to the towns themselves. That does not preclude the school board members from also taking the stuff and making sure that this gets out on their sites. Couple more things and then I'll stop on this one. All the communications are out on the shared drive for people to look at them, and I'll send out a note of where the folders are on the shared drive for them. Lots more logistics and coordination scheduled activities take place. Also, at the end, Jim would like some time to talk or to give some information about the budget articles he has authored. So I now turn it over to Jim.
Is your mic on?
No, never is. There's a budget page on the board website, and I don't know, I didn't look today, are all 3 articles up now? Okay, so there's 3 articles written. I'm working on the 4th article, which is on the tax bill thing, so feel free to look at them, and we'll encourage your constituents to look at them too. That's it.
Okay, Ellen, you're on to the Strategic Organization Planning Committee.
Okay. On the Strategic Organization Planning Committee, first off, I want to thank Dick, Liz, Tom, and Doug from the committee, and Kimberly and Janine and Brenda for their time and very constructive input to our discussions. Just want to do one thing up front because I want to make sure everybody understands the process, is that the Strategic Organization Planning Committee and the to-be-formed Strategic Organization Committee are ad hoc committees of the school board. As a committee of the Conval School Board and consistent with the role of an ad hoc committee, all recommendations of this committee and required actions will be presented to the school board for their consideration and decision-making. Let's make sure that everybody's clear on that one. Now, in the meeting, first thing, the RFIs. the request for information. As we expected, we have 5 responses to the RFI. They were due by today. We have them all. And I am really happy. They are well-written. They are also on the shared drive, so that anybody from the school board that wants to look at them, and I would suggest we do, is I'll send out, if I haven't already, exactly where on the shared drive they are, so you can look at them. They are interesting. Some of them are lengthy, some of them are shorter, but that's the way they should be. Okay, now, the first meeting took place on Thursday at 6 p.m. I think it was a very constructive meeting. Lots of discussion, lots of results, and it's good to work with people who are motivated, knowledgeable, and easy to work with. Okay. Good? Okay. Remember, the SOPC is only in place to outline the structure and responsibilities and timeframes of activities for the SOC. The SOC, the Strategic Organization Committee, is an operational committee. Although there was a lot of discussion and committee decisions made, we are not ready today to bring all to the entire board. We will be having a second meeting this Thursday to wrap up, hopefully, all the work of the SOPC. Then we will be ready to present to the entire board for their consideration and decision-making, and hopefully that will be the next school board meeting that's coming up. Agenda items that were discussed: determine the charter and the purpose of the SOC. The agreement has been reached to the draft document, and the changes will be reviewed at the next meeting. Determine the makeup of the Strategic Organization Committee. We settled on the areas to be represented, both internal and external. Determine the structure of the committees and subcommittees. And with a broad range of needed involvement from other committees, the organizational diagram was reviewed and addition changes, deletions were discussed and agreed upon. Outline activities, including timelines of the SOC to be done up to the engagement of the outside firm. It would not be proper for us to try to put together the timelines for when the firm is here, because that would be one of their responsibilities for us to sit with them and get through the timelines. Okay? Let's see. The remaining agenda items were not addressed due to time limitations, and we'll be completing the work of the SOPC at the next scheduled meeting, which is this Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. The next thing on the agenda, the next report, is the Selectmen's Advisory Committee. We did meet last Thursday night, and the selectmen obviously were very interested in the budget, some of the particulars of the budget, and Kimberly presented those several things from the PowerPoint that we are familiar with and that is posted on the website. And then I did reports on committee work, and that was about it. Stephen?
Education Committee, we weren't on the original agenda, but we did meet
Oh, that's right.
yeah, the Education
Thank
Committee
you.
met late this afternoon. We had 2 bits of business to do. First of all, we heard a proposal about yoga as an elective course along with personal fitness and weightlifting. The future instructor of the course seemed highly qualified. We were impressed with the idea that yoga could be lifelong exercise. The instructor has a variety of evaluative techniques that she's going to use. So on February 21st, we'll be bringing this course for the board's approval of a pilot course. This isn't the forever and ever. The second thing we did was we heard from Amy Yannick about summer activities. I was relieved to find out that Amy, although she is retiring, will be coming back until September 2024, until the end of the ESSER grants. to help on a part-time basis with summer courses. Amy presented a set of summer activities for elementary, middle school, and high school students. She is confident about recruiting faculty members to instruct at all three levels, and she feels pretty secure about student enrollment. So that was it. We had the yoga and the summer activities.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, that finishes up the reports and it brings us to old business. And we have a legislative update and a charge to the board.
So, I shared with you a pretty detailed list, with summaries of the proposed legislation. What I'm hoping that you guys can do, and I'm going to be actually after today making that live for all of you to edit, which is a little scary for me. So I'm changing it just a little based on some feedback that I got from a couple of people. And what I need you to do is to give me direction on what you want me to stay on top of, because there's 127 on this list, I believe. I cannot possibly watch 127 bills and do my full-time regular gig too. In this is the bill number. It is live, so you can go directly to the text, the title, or kind of the topic, the sponsor, also with a link, so you can go see who the sponsor is, the committee that it is being heard in as of right now, the hearing date, and this is where I changed a little. I'm doing the hearing date in its own, so you'll be able to sort by that, the time and location of that hearing, the work or executive session, the location of that, and then as things come in, if it's ought to pass, if it is inexpedient to legislate, if it's sent to interim study, or if it's moved on, I will try to keep those updated as well. What I did was I categorized these. You may or may not agree with the categories. I'm open to whatever you want. So I categorized all 100 and however many of them. Building aid, local control, school building aid is the same thing, unfunded mandate, finance or budget funding, and then some were DOE, some were adequacy, some were EFAs, which are, and some were, the other word I used was permissive. And so when I said permissive, basically what that means is this legislation is giving you the option to do something, but it isn't telling you you have to. Never really sure about permissive legislation, because why don't you have permission to do it anyway? But hey, go ahead.
We call it enabling
Oh,
legislation.
enabling legislation.
Not permissive, because we're not a home rule state, meaning that all the political subdivisions have to have the permission of the legislature in order to do something. And not having permission doesn't mean you can.
Right,
It still
right.
means you can't. So permissive, but we call it enabling.
Enabling. So you can change wherever it's, I've read permissive, you can change to enabling. And then New Hampshire retirement system. So I'm happy to take any thoughts you have right now. Thank you, Mr. Dunning, because the one that was making my heart really get upset was the one that said no one could be related to anybody in the district. And I was a little worried about that, considering we're 250 square miles. So I wasn't really sure who was going to be on the board. So I would, if I were you as the board, I would not be paying attention to any that said adequacy or EFA for obvious reasons. I would read any that say funding. I would pay attention to the ones that say NHRS, and then I will take, and the other thing I might pay a little attention to is anything that said public school standards or rulemaking. There's a lot going on with rulemaking that doesn't seem right. And I would read through the DOE ones because the DOE's role is being expanded significantly. That's all I have to say. Now I'll look to you for direction.
Catherine,
And here's where it gets a little tricky. So last week and this week, between the 2 weeks, over 100 of those education bills out of 238 have been heard already. In either exact, meaning they've made a decision on the bill, or moved to another committee. So the bill that Mr. Dunning so kindly wrote about was already exact. It's already done. So it's moving on for a full vote at the House at the next session, which is tomorrow. So the retirement bills, both those bills already heard, already re-referred to a committee, reheard, because I was at those hearings today in the finance committee. So the pace in which this moves is,
That's why I have like 5 I can follow.
right, is tremendously quick. And it's very hard to keep up with unless you're doing it full-time. And even then, the amount of hearings is tremendous. So it's not to preclude anybody from making comments, but I think this is kind of a homework assignment that we need to do within this week. And so as bills keep moving forward, if they continue to move forward, we have a position if we choose to take it as a full board. So at our next meeting, we can do something, because once it passes the full House, it's going to go to the Senate. Once it passes the full Senate, it goes over to the House. So you really only have 2 chances to either pass something you really want to see supported, or maybe see a bill, be laid on the table or inexpedient to legislate. But we're already partway through that process on over 100 education bills, just to let you know how quickly that's going.
but the problem, like representing the full board, is we don't have another meeting until the 21st of February.
But that is enough time for us, if I may, to then have a position, so when it crosses over, if it gets that far, then we can actually do more advocacy. So, but after that, crossover happens in early March, after that, there's no more opportunity.
Okay.
It just, the bill will, has a life of its own at that point.
Okay,
So-
so in other words, we have to be ready by the 21st to give permission as a board to speak to any bills that we feel are necessary to be spoken to.
Correct.
Okay,
But I still need direction on what you want me to watch carefully.
yes.
Okay. The other thing is you should know that House Ed has 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans. So if anything ties, it goes to the full House with an ought to pass. So that's, I think I got everything. Tell me what you want me to do next.
Doug?
Don't ask me to summarize any more bills, though. Ones that aren't summarized are like 6 and 7 pages long, and I just have not had it in me to do them.
So I guess my question is, do we go over the list? I'm not saying I want to do this, just so we're clear. Go over the list you sent and say yay or nay about things we want you to focus on, or do we have people volunteer for what they want to do, or do we have to decide, vote on ones that the board is going to support? How do we do this?
I think
'Cause
what we
have
talked
like
about
20
was,
of them that I look
high, medium, low priority. Isn't that what you wanted people to do? Is so, like, you'll have the ability to go in and one of those, I think like one of the columns is, other, priority. So you can put high, medium, and low, if, depending on its importance that you think it has.
Just don't undo anyone else's.
And put your initials next to it. So high, medium, low with your, initial next to it, so we know what it is. Catherine?
And I think to complete the answer to your question perhaps, is that we can't take, you can take any individual action you would all like to as individual citizens, but
Right.
not from your school board email and not representing the school board. But if we want the full weight of the school board, we have to agree, at least a majority has to agree that we want to take a position on a bill.
Correct.
And that's same with the direction that you give me. You give me direction as a board, not any of you individually. Like Jim can't say, Kimberly, go testify on HB 51. It's actually SB 51. So my recommendation, and this is just my recommendation, is that we do not approach anything having to do with adequacy or EFAs. Let those play out how they're going to. And if you need more information about that, then I'm happy to supply that one-on-one.
Okay. New business, are there any questions on the legislative, like our work? It's a lot of, it took me a couple hours this afternoon to go through, got through most of them. Dick,
Just to follow up, I want to thank Catherine for making me aware of the fact that if the committee is meeting in its executive session, you can't testify. So she gave me a heads up to that. So, but you can write. And because I'd had permission, I wrote as representing you, and I got a response right away with the indication they hope to not let it out of committee or to squish it as soon as possible. But I guess the next step will be it's going to the House for a vote, and hopefully it'll get voted down. But it was just interesting to know that there's that fine line that when you can and when you can't. So thank you, Catherine. It saved me a trip to Concord.
okay, thank you, Dick. Under new business, Conval School District Annual Report, did everyone have a chance to read the annual report? It was in your folder, and we need to, vote on this, so I will entertain a motion to accept the annual report as written.
I move to accept the annual report.
Okay, moved by, Jim,
Second,
seconded by Dick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Oh, okay. We have, oh, in the shared
It was
drive?
under the shared.
Okay,
It's-
okay. One abstention. Brenda, did you get the one abstention by Greg? Okay, any other abstentions? Any nays? Okay, thank you. And now budget transfers?
So Mr. Grassi mentioned this already, that we need to replace some bubblers. And so he's asking that we transfer money out of the high school account because we'll do fewer renovations, classroom renovations, to help fund these bubblers.
Okay, so I will need a motion to approve the transfer for the bubblers.
I move the proposed transfers.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? I see Kevin down there just doing his own thing, not sure what his vote was. Were you a yay?
That was a danger.
He's a positive person.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, that brings us to our second period of public comment. And Mr. Edwards, not this time either, huh? Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to the approval of the manifests.
All right, I certify that manifests totaling $1,545,374.02 have been reviewed by me and found to be proper charges against Kentucket Valley School District for goods and/or services received and have been properly processed prior to their submittal to the school board.
I move to approve the manifest.
second,
Moved by Jim, seconded by Dick. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Any abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our meeting, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
This is.
Moved by Dick and seconded by Catherine, I think. All in favor?
Aye. Good night.
So.
This is.
Put it slideshow.
Son's getting ready for the baseball season?